Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of By Night, the series where I will be covering every night and 24-hour bus service within Greater London. And you join me at Watford Junction Station, out in Hertfordshire, definitely not Greater London. But we are here to start on what is a very significant service. You're familiar, with the Superloop. It's a network of 10 routes that goes around outer London's suburbs in a ring. Well, more like 7 routes that do the ring, and then a couple that sort of do other things. But anyway, before the limited stop buses have a precedence in London. Before the Superloop, within what we would consider London now, there was the Red Arrows. They were limited stop services for commuters within the city centre. But in the outskirts of London, there were a network of routes called the Green Line. And they typically all started with 7. And they were very fast, very limited stop. They were very long. There were also, I think there were 30 Green Line services. Several of them were sort of coach commuter routes that went to places like Kent and Windsor, and out around here. We're in Hertfordshire right now, Watford. But perhaps the best known of all of them is the 724, and it's probably the best known of all of them because it's the only one that survives in its full form. Bits of the 726 survive as parts of the SL7, bits of the 726 survive in the form of the SL7. But aside from the SL7 keeping along like a third of the 726, the 724 is the only one that really survives. And the 724 is an absolute beast. It runs from Harlow in Essex through Hertford, St Albans, Watford, Rickmansworth and Uxbridge to Heathrow. A full run of the route takes well over 2 hours, and the short section that I'm doing tonight from Watford to Heathrow still takes about an hour. My bus left St Albans a little bit before I started recording this. I have plenty of time at Watford, so the 724, it's a very impressive service. Few people have ridden it end to end. You may have heard over there a bus has fired up. That is Metroline London's VW1203, which is the bus I got in off the 258, and it's starting up to do another 258 back down to South Harrow. But obviously 258, probably not obviously. The 258 is not a 24-hour service. It finishes at some point. The 724 does not, although it does run very infrequently overnight, because it's only like hourly during the day, being such a long route. It runs every 2 hours overnight. And we're going to be getting the 23:55 departure from Watford, which is being done by 4112 in the Arriva Herts Essex fleet, which is one of the ADL Enviro 200 MMCs new to the routes 508, 509 and 5010. 5010? Well done me. 508, 509 and 510 that run between Harlow and Stansted Airport. They have replaced Pulsar 2s on the 724, which themselves replaced Mercedes Citaros on the 724. So I would say that when those Citaros were running was the last time the 724 had a bus that was actually built for a route of that length, because it's really long. Even this little bit that I'm doing tonight is about 22, 23 miles, something like that. And this is the second half of the second half of the route. The 724 is so long that it's actually split at St Albans in the timetable. So it'll track as a 724 from Harlow to St Albans, and then it will track as a 724 from St Albans to Heathrow. That's how long this route is. There's 1203. So, I've been rambling for quite some time, so I'll see you on the 724. Okay, just as I stop recording, there is the 724 that's going to Harlow. That is probably not going to get to Harlow until at least 1 in the morning. In fact, that's being generous. It might not get to Harlow until 1:30. So, yikes. 724, very long. This area of the bus station, very dark. Don't go in there, because you want light to film with. So, yeah, okay, now that's enough rambling. I'll see you on the 724. Which runs from Harlow down to Heathrow Airport. It's an absolute marathon run, going through Hertford, Hatfield, Welwyn City, St Albans, Watford, Rickmansworth, Uxbridge, and terminating at Heathrow Airport. A full run takes some 2.5–3 hours, and the run is so long. The timetable is split at St Albans. What that means is, if you look on bus times, buses will track from, say, Harlow as terminating at St Albans. Then when they get to St Albans, they'll continue as if they were on a separate service from St Albans to Heathrow Airport. So yeah, this is the only surviving Green Line service, and I mean, it's survived, it's clearly useful. So, the 724 itself runs roughly hourly all day, and then overnight it drops down to running every 2 hours, which, you know, is low enough that I was debating do I. But at the same time, the 724 is just an iconic route for, you know, the area of Hertfordshire that's immediately up north of London. So you sort of have to do it, and it does run into London, and it does run all night. So it would be a bit of a cop out if I didn't. These Enviro 200 MMCs were new for their Arriva Herts Essex's routes 508, 509 and 510 that run between Harlow and Stansted Airport. And while I'm sure they were fine for those services, they are absolutely inadequate for the 724. The 724 is a really long route, and these buses cannot offer the level of comfort that you would want for a run this long. And you might be able to hear that these are just the standard 4-cylinder Enviro 200 MMCs, which, again, they're fine for the 508, 509 and 510, which are all stops local services, but the 724 is a limited stop express run, and these engines cannot be enjoying life. So hopefully when these get replaced, they get replaced with something good. Isotaro maybe? I have now made it to Heathrow Airport off of the 724. We are at Heathrow Central for Terminals 2 and 3. I found a new quiet spot to film at. It's here by the entrance to the Piccadilly line. And yeah, so from here, I think I'm going to take the 111 down to, what's it called, down to Kingston. And then I'm going to get on the 57 from Kingston over to Tooting. And in Tooting, I'm going to get the 270 across to Putney Bridge. From there, we'll see. But for now, yeah, for now we're at Heathrow. Needs a little introduction. It's the busiest airport in Europe, I believe. And arriving in over there is a something. It's an N140. It's behind me. It's over there. You can't really see it. But yeah, by the time we get to Putney Bridge, I have no idea what I'm going to do. It might be a 14, it might be an N74. It's probably going to be one of those two. But yeah, we'll see when we get there. As for now though, it's the 111 down to Kingston. And a bus that really shouldn't be on this route by now. These should have been replaced on the 111 3 years ago by the right street deck electroliners that run it now. But for whatever reason, maybe they just didn't buy enough of them to cover the full allocation and allow vehicles to charge. But yeah, for whatever reason, LTs keep slipping onto the 111. It's very disappointing to see. But we're on the 111, and I made a mistake in the plan for tonight that I came up with on the 724, in that the 270 isn't 24 hour. I don't know where I got the impression that it was, but it's not. So we're not doing the 270 because it's not running at the moment. That's, you know, the nature of daytime only services. They only run during the daytime. But we will still be getting the 57, but rather than to Tooting, we'll be getting it all the way out to Streatham Hill, where we'll be getting on the N137 up to Marble Arch, and finishing off on the N74 down to Roehampton, which I believe will have Roehampton finished for this series. Maybe? I'll check on that, and if I remember to include it at the start of episode 12, I'll let you all know if we finished Roehampton. We are almost done with Heathrow, actually. We've only got 2 services left from Heathrow, the flight line 703 and the Diamond Bus Southeast N30. But yeah, this is the last TfL service from Heathrow that we need to cover this series. So in a way, Heathrow's done, but it's not done because I'm doing everything, not just TfL. Anywho, the 111, it's an absolute nightmare of a route. It runs between Heathrow and Kingston, and you might think that, given it's got the lower number, that it would be faster than the 285, but it's really not. This route is crazy. It goes from Heathrow to Kingston via oh my god, what is the name of the place? It's near Hounslow. Heston, that's it. Yeah, it goes through Heathrow, Heston, Hounslow, Hampton, then Hampton Court, and only then does it get to Kingston. It's a really, really long route. If you're going between Heathrow and Kingston overnight, when the SL7 isn't running, just get the 285, please. But that said, we're getting this all the way down to Kingston, where we'll be changing for the A57, which we'll be getting over to Streatham now. So let's go to some B-rolls, shall we? So, we've now made it to the lovely new bus station at Cromwell Road in Kingston, off of the 111, which an LT on a route that's meant to have been electrics for 3 years. Transport UK in a nutshell, right there. Anywho, we've made it to Kingston, which means we're now going to get on the 57 and head down to Streatham Hill. We still haven't done an N prefix night bus yet, which we'll get to that. In fact, we'll get to that off of the 57. But I'm just going to go for a little walk. There's the new bus station at Cromwell Road. It's actually lovely. It's sort of very sort of open plan, which is exactly how the old bus station was. It didn't really have a sort of terminal as such. It just sort of had a covered section of pavement like that does. But that looks a whole lot nicer. The old Cromwell Road bus station was probably built in the late 80s, early 90s, and it looked it. It did not age well. But I'm just walking out this way because it's just a short walk from Kingston Town Centre, which is sort of that way, and Kingston Station, which is over there, as you can see from the double arrows. There's a fox behind me. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the bus station because that is where I'm picking up the 57, and it's very dark. Again, I said this episode 1, feature of nighttime, it's very dark. I don't know why it keeps taking me by surprise. I'm used to this by now. Well, I was already used to it because I'm quite fond of riding buses at night for fun. Especially in London. During the day, buses in London are very stop-start. But at night, it's a bit more entertaining. So, I'm going to head back to the stand where my 57 will be leaving in about, I want to say 15 minutes time.
To Clapham Park, Atkins Road. Kingston Hospital. Station. It's one of our 24-hour daytime services, just like the 111 was. But rather than taking a circuitous route between an airport and a shopping town... Broadway Station. Oh, there we are. We're in Tooting Broadway. Yeah. Rather than taking a circuitous route between an airport and a shopping town, this cuts across South London, between Kingston and Clapham Park, which is near Streatham. Naturally, the road network is sort of very radial, so it's sort of the route ends up looking, if you look at it on the felt, it almost looks like some bunting that's been hung up. Like, it keeps doing that across South London, and I think it's, I don't know, I just think that's kind of amusing. Speaking of that tendency to look a bit like bunting, we are making another
Midtown
turn.
Road, Tooting Broadway Station.
At Tooting Broadway, and that's Tooting Broadway Station on the Northern Line. So, yeah, that's the 57. It's honestly, it's such a useful route. I've used this. I live nowhere near this route, and I've used it so often. So let's go back to the bureau.
Thrale Road.
And as my 57 goes off into the distance over there, I have made it to Streatham. I don't actually know what the name of this big road is. I think it's Telford Avenue. But this is the main drag in Streatham. And yeah, I've made it to Streatham off the 57. How many times have I said Streatham already? I've only been here for like a minute, not even. And yeah, what's that over there? Oh, that's an N109 over there. That's a route that I need to do. I also need to do the N250, dreading both of those. If you want to know why, just look at the areas they go through. Actually, speaking of potential drama, there was a little bit of drama on the 57. Passenger got on a few stops, like, just basically, like, that way. A few stops that way. I've decided I'm walking back to Streatham Hill Station. I don't know why. But yeah, passenger got on, didn't pay, then proceeded to start vaping on the bus, and then had a massive argument with the driver, and several passengers intervened. It was, you know, it was a moment. It was an actual moment. But oh well. These things happen, you know, when you're out at 3 AM in Streatham. I've gone down a random side road. Well, my next route from here is to get on the N137 up into central London. So, I will see you on the N137.
To Oxford Circus.
You now join me on LT 979 in the Arriva London fleet on the N171.
Rookery Road.
Now, we have an N at the front. The N171 runs between Crystal Palace and Oxford Circus via Streatham Hill, Clapham Common and Marble Arch. In fact, we're currently going along the top side of Clapham Common. Being an N prefix route, we're extended from the regular 137, which runs from Streatham Hill, Telford Avenue, to Marble Arch via Clapham Common, Chelsea Bridge and Knightsbridge. And I'm now 39 seconds into the recording, which means we should now have teleported to Queenstown Road Battersea. Isn't that nice? So, the 137 and N137 are both operated by Arriva London, and they use the LT, the Boris Bus, the Right New Route Master, whatever you want to call them. They have so many names. And yeah, it's, you know, it goes through Clapham Common, it crosses on Chelsea Bridge, through Sloane Square, which is quite nice. I do need to visit Sloane Square. I've not actually gotten off there, but it does look very nice, as you'll see later on. So, with that, back to the B-roll.
And you now join me in Marble Arch, where I've just gotten off of the N137, which, as you can probably tell by the fact that it was post me doing the information, was very busy. I'm just walking down now to the stop where I will be able to get our final bus of the episode, the N74, down to Roehampton. It's our second time visiting Roehampton, and I might be our last. Again, I'll have to check. But, you know, we're going to Roehampton at, 4 in the morning. It is currently, 4:02, 4:03? It is 4:03. So, yeah, totally normal time to go to Roehampton. Everyone goes to Roehampton at 4 AM. Actually, I hope not, because I would like to be able to do the commentary live. But yeah, I'll see you on the N74.
join me from Go Ahead London's WHV 129, one of their Volvo B5LH right-fix Gemini 3s on the N74. We're currently coming through Kensington now, on our way down to Roehampton. So, we've got an N in front of the number. It means it's different from the regular 74, we just hit a tree. So, the regular 74 runs from Baker Street Station down through Marble Arch, Hyde Park Corner and South Kensington, and then down through Putney Bridge and terminates at Putney Exchange. The N74 continues from Putney Exchange down to Roehampton, Danebury Avenue. And so, you know, it's a fairly significant extension, but I believe it is the same northern or central terminus at Baker Street. So, not much more useful for getting from central London. Baker Street's a really odd place to terminate a bus route, especially once they cut back the 205, which was a ridiculous decision to begin with, but apparently they're going ahead with it. But anyway, the N74, we're on this almost all the way to the end. If I had started this ride from Baker Street, I would be listing it as full route, because it's like 2 or 3 stops from the end, but we got on at Marble Arch, so no, it's not full route. But yeah, without further ado, let's return to looking out the front of the N74. So, as WHV 129 leaves me to run its last few stops to the end of Danebury Avenue here in Roehampton, well, we've arrived at Roehampton, where we'll be finishing off this episode, and it appears never to return. Turns out Roehampton gets 3
services that would fall under this series' remit. The N72 and 85, which we covered earlier in the series, and the N74, which we just have. So, yeah, that's Roehampton cleared for by night. I'm walking up this way because because seeing as we're not coming back, and the first time we came here, apologies if there were hands everywhere in the camera there. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, we're going up. I'm taking you this way because when I came here the first time, I said that this area was something of a mishmash of architectural styles. As you can see, there's the austere, mid-century, sort of modernist, brutalist, whatever you want to call it. You know, and whatever your opinion of that style is, that makes up a lot of the residential stuff around here. You know, it's all like that. But I've come from Danebury Avenue up to Roehampton High Street, which, ooh, hand in the camera again. I'm good at this. So, Roehampton High Street is very different. Roehampton is a very old village, so its high street is very nice. So, if we just walk up a little bit, and then I'll be able to spin around and show you this actually adorable little high street. It's so cute. There's a cute little interior design shop thing there. That's quite nice. I think that's the second pub I've walked past on the high street already. So good to know their priorities are in the right place. And there we go. Look at this lovely little high street. It's so nice. It's so sweet. So, from Roehampton's adorable high street, I will see you on Monday from City Bus Manager on the South Coast, on Thursday from City Bus Manager once again from West Scotland, and next week from By Night. Bye bye.